Yeah, that was a great Bloodline card shop. Halloween Havoc top plays. And it was great to see the representation because it wasn't just one role, right? We were seeing the DPS, the tanks, along with the supports being highlighted in these plays.
Yeah, I mean, just looking again at that casino, the casino dom is just ridiculous. I'm really, I'm honestly a little bit heartbroken that we're not going to see more of it today, but I mean, it was as close as you could get to getting to this top three. So just one of those great examples. And yeah, I mean, we saw some of the play from, for example, like X-Ray Sazabi, which we are going to be seeing a little bit later on today. The tanks, the DPS, the quote unquote support, every single role in this game, like you said, they can pop off. The ults are huge. We saw things like the turn A ult in there, and we're going to see, I'm sure, some other ridiculous moments as today goes on.
Yeah, and so we do have our teams ready to go. So let's go ahead and talk about the map bans coming in for our first match of the day. It's going to be BOZOS versus Gundam Unicorn. And the first ban that came in, I believe, the higher seed gets the first ban. And it was going to be Underground Command Center being banned out first.
Yeah, we have actually seen a lot of Underground Command Center bans. It's a little bit surprising to me. Again, I mentioned this yesterday, but I would love for any of the good players out there who've been playing this tournament to let me know why it's being banned quite so much. There are definitely some choke points that can be pretty painful. I totally understand that, but we've seen it banned, I feel like maybe more than almost any other map so far. I would have to go back and look at the statistics. We saw some of them. This one wasn't on there, but yeah, I guess we're not going to be starting off with that. I think we saw it played a single time at least, or did we see it twice yesterday? At least one or twice. So it's not like it's completely gone, but it has been banned quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, our second ban coming in was Harbor City, and we only got to see that map once throughout the games yesterday. And our first pick for our first match in the winners finals, it is going to be Flag Fort. No surprise there. You mentioned it yourself, Evan. A lot of teams kind of want to test out the waters there on Flag Fort, even though it looks like it's a desert map, right? But it has been a nice litmus test of how teams want to approach the game, and seeing how conservative teams play on point A, while we kind of theory crafted that maybe teams can open up with a gym sniper. It's not coming to fruition as well. It's just going to be bog standard when it comes to compositions there. We did see some Mahiru picks, but I believe that was just kind of like a one-off.
Yeah, we've seen like a couple like random ones here and there on like a couple of different maps actually, but so far they haven't really popped off. I think that is one of the most unique suits in the game, and it's one of my favorite ones to play. But it certainly is going to take us a level of I think execution that maybe we don't have yet, especially practicing it with the team, being able to scan their entire team and then tell your own teammates on comms where everybody is a huge gigantic deal. But the damage isn't always going to be there if people are out in the open, if there's not certain choke points. So I want to see more Mahiru, but I do expect that we're probably going to be seeing the usual comps that we've been seeing. It seems like pretty much everybody's been going with Pale Rider, a Sazabi, either depending on the map, either a Unicorn or a Methis. I would say mostly Methis. We see the Dom, we see the Exia, of course, and then you mentioned earlier yesterday that you usually see a flex. There's been a lot of Ashmars. There have been sometimes the Gundam Unicorns in that spot, but the Mahirus pop out every once in a while. I expect that, especially for these top teams, though, they've been pretty consistently sticking with what they've been using throughout the entire time, which are, I'd say, mostly those suits.
Yeah, and this is a best of 3 series, so our second map pick is going to be Thermal Plants. If it does go to the third map, we will have another round of bans, and then whichever map that remains after that will be the decider one. So we have Mountain R&D, Quarry, and Ministry of Defense still up. I don't think we saw any Ministry of Defense whatsoever. So we're keeping an eye on that. But right now we're just waiting to get the game started. This is going to be a fun one. Flag Fort, like we said, this is a good litmus test to see how teams prevail. I mean, point A, I don't know if we really got to see a hold coming out on point A other than in overtime rounds. Taking a look at this, I believe it is going to be Gundam Unicorn starting on defense on Flag Fort. So Team BOZOS will be starting things off here on the attack. They're already hovering on that Mahiru.
Oh, yeah, I'm really excited. I hope it happens after we just talked about it. That would certainly be a pretty sick thing to happen. I'm wondering what they're going to be having on defense. Probably not the Mahiru. It probably is trying to get as much splash damage as it can within that first A point. But, honestly, Gundam Unicorns, I'm not as familiar with them, right? We only saw them, I think, one time on stream yesterday, and they did very, very well, of course, to get to this point in the bracket, but they're much more of a newer team. I asked them about their team. A lot of them come from Battlefield. It's a lot of their background, but obviously they're here within our top 3 on the winner's side, which is huge. But we'll see how BOZOS does on offense.
Yeah, now this is a little bit of the meta approach now. You could just cross the bridge. You know, in your regular matchmaking games, you have to play a little bit more cautiously because of presence of gym snipers here, but teams have not been running it on the defense whatsoever. The defensive hold has been inside the point itself, and now the Exia coming in for the flank.
Oh, wow, just so quickly getting there. But of course, the Exia defending the flank from the other Exia. It seems like every time they're on this point, we're seeing the Exia versus Exia battles. And of course, the Pale Rider on this exact spot. Pale Rider has been really the MVP, I think, of defending or attacking this point.
And that's great, right? Just the flank alone pulls back the defending squad that allows Tism to get that high ground, and it goes uncontested as everyone is just dealing with the scramble in the back. So now you got the first 2 points, or excuse me, ticks being picked up by Team BOZOS. And you can see they want to try and get the forward spawns, but the team on the other side, Gundam Unicorns on the defense, they are not going to get caught out on this respawn. They go back for this defensive hold on the choke.
Yeah, and I mentioned this before. I mean, we saw some moments from Tism in the MVP video, but Tism's aim has just been unreal this entire tournament, and it's looking to be that way the exact same way here. This is a very strong push off the start. A lot of players pushing from the right side, the flank here, rather than just directly through those kind of double doors, double walls. And look at this, melting the Exia. A lot of them going to the top side, it looks like.
Yeah, Dai has gone down, so has the Suzabi. So now it's all about trying to hold the front line here on the high ground. They want to maintain this for that Pale Rider to really play off of as the Exia gets in. He's going to be on the point, maybe secure himself a tick because the run back is coming in, but they have to deal with the Suzabi, 34 HP. He does get out in time, but the offense, Team BOZOS, are losing out. Dai has gone down once more. You do not want your Dom to go down. Unfortunately, he's only at 58% towards building up this G maneuver. We do have the Ashmar punch available. Right now, it's Gundam Unicorns holding point B.
Yeah, it does look like potentially, I might have seen that wrong, but it looks like there might have been a slight DC on the end of BOZOS. It actually looks like they might have their player back. So that was, oh, nope, looks like it's still a little bit gone. I think we actually did see that against, I was in one of the matches yesterday. I can't remember actually which one it was, but maybe there's a player having some internet issues. Hopefully they come back. They did come back the last time we saw that happen, but it looks like BOZOS are going to be trying to continue to push as a 5-man team. They're still doing pretty well. They just weren't quite able to get on point there. It was a really strong hold from Gundam Unicorn using the RX-78, which I love seeing.
Yeah, the RX-78 with that Hyper Hammer has been a nice way to deal with the Suzabi shield. Just from long range, toss that one down and then trying to focus him down. But in this 5v6, it isn't looking too great for them. But for Team BOZOS, they have built up their G maneuvers. They actually find a pick here. They do have their Methis back in. They'll be able to get Duke up in just a moment. That Exia is going to have his Trans Am available as they find more picks.
Oh, this is huge. It looks like Tism is taking down at least 2 people with the Hades. I think that was the Hades. Maybe that was just normal normal Pale Rider aim. It just looked ridiculous. But they've got a couple picks here, so they have the opportunity to push in. It looks like they're still going to be going for kind of that top angle. Of course, if you can't hold that top angle, it is so hard to push back in as defense. You have to really just make your head accessible to every single shot that the opponent can throw at you. But this push is looking a lot better than the last one.
Huge trade. They do end up losing out on that Ashmar, but they still have that Hades now trying to focus down one. They don't clear out the Napalm in time, though, and the Gundam Ultimate ends up picking up 2. They're still trying to pick up some ticks, but it looks like throughout all of this, it's just a war of attrition. Only Duke alive on the point. He's already used his Trans Am earlier on. The defense will hold before the tick comes in. The Screaming Nimbus has been tossed down, but Duke will get cleaned up. So Team BOZOS pick up nothing on this push. They expended a lot of G maneuvers into this fight.
They did. That RX-78 or the G maneuver was so good. I love it on this point. It's almost exactly the size of the point, this entire room. You can throw it in a bunch of angles where it's really hard to shoot it, which is exactly what we saw. Of course, for anybody who's not familiar, you can actually blow up the flame grenade, the incendiary grenade, before it explodes. But here we go. We're not going to see too much of a different strategy here. They're still, again, just going to be pushing through the top. They did do quite a good job of pushing until that RX-78 G maneuver worked out well. And again, it's the same exact positioning with Tism, with the Pale Rider, that's going to be putting in the most work if they can get this spot down, but it's not going to be easy.
Unfortunately for BOZOS, they keep losing out on their Dom. I don't know exactly what's going on, but the Ashmore ends up picking up 2 with that push now as they get back onto point. 2 people are there. They get a clean sweep. The funnel has been used by the Suzabi as well to clear out the point, and they will secure their first tick before the respawn comes in. They should be able to get that second. We'll see if the defense can rally to try and deny the third, but it does seem like Team BOZOS might be able to get it. Going into the back line is Duke, making sure the Suzabi doesn't get there, and Team BOZOS will secure their third tick.
Oh, yeah, they're doing such a good job of just distracting, but here we go. Big fight on the point here. We are going to see, I think that was the G maneuver coming out from the other Exia, but it was kind of hard to see. They're definitely going to be expending at least a few. They really got to get them off this point. They are going to, I think, just barely not hit the 3-tick point, or maybe they just barely hit it. Oh, I think they just barely hit it, actually. That is super lucky. That was like down to a fraction of a percent. So getting at least that 3 ticks is going to be huge. There's still 2.5 minutes. They can very, very much make 1 tick within that time.
Yeah, they secure that, like you said, 2.5 minutes remaining here, but they cannot stagger. If they want to have 3 pushes, they need to make sure that they regroup as quickly as possible. Now just waiting on the Zabi. They do have a nice control over this choke right now. You can see that forward presence coming out, and Exia going into the back line. That's going to be Duke. He does have his Trans Am available for this next fight. That is the only G maneuver for now. The Hades should be active in just a moment, only 6% more. You can see he does get that damage off. And so if they can push for the high ground, if Exia can pull them down, that would be massive.
Yeah, but as we've seen, sometimes that's all that this team needs. BOZOS just with Trans Am and the Hades can take out an entire team, and it looks like we are at least going to see the Trans Am being activated. Hades still being held on, but doing so much damage, taking out 2 people, eventually getting caught by the Sazabi. Might get the res in there. Did look like they get the res on the Ashamar, but yeah, Hades activated on point is going to be so much and just enough for the team kill. Like I said, you only need 2 G maneuvers with this team. BOZOS, they have such a strong combo, obviously with their entire team, but just seeing the play together between Tism and Duke with the Pale Rider and the Exia is ridiculous. We saw that on the very first point where we saw the the Pale Rider come in, the Exia flank made everybody turn around. They took that point very cleanly, and then we saw the double G maneuver to take the second point as well. Just that combo of 2, one thing that you have to turn around for, and then another thing you can't ever turn around from. I think it's just working out so well.
You saw how they were able to take advantage of the kind of presence that the defense wanted to have. Gundam Unicorn all on that high ground allowed Duke just to come in from below with that Trans Am for free. And so that angle was not covered whatsoever. It was just fantastic to see. On their defensive hold, it doesn't look like anything is changing for them. They will be starting it off with that Ashmar as that 6th pick. Overall, everything is pretty much bog standard. Now, your secondary support, right, as it could be Unicorn or Methus, they are going for Methus for this BOZOS squad.
Yeah, it seems like we've been seeing a lot of Methus on point A defense on Flak Fort, just because I think, well, first of all, the turrets, there's so many like cheeky spots that you can put turrets in this building, but hold on, okay, we're actually going to see a little bit more forward of a hold, maybe they're just trolling, maybe they're trying to get a little bit of free G maneuver meter. That is something you do tend to see from Methus sometimes. They'll drop like a, like I said, cheeky little turret a little bit further up. We are seeing that, and then once it gets destroyed, then they're going to drop one in the spot they actually want to on point.
Yeah, this is just going to give them information, right? Because there is that pathway to get into the right-hand side on point A. And so if they end up taking that one up the bridge, then it will basically get spotted out by that turret. But right now, this is one of the first times we've seen a team actually going for that peak. And it makes sense, right? Teams are just pushing across the bridge completely unimpeded. Might as well try and build up some G meter there, but didn't look like they got much. 9% though already on Duke as they are waiting for this approach coming out from Gundam Unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, especially you can actually get some pretty heavy chunks with those non-drop-off, I guess they're laser daggers technically, I think. But those projectiles so good, and yeah, you can see they can do so much damage from literally anywhere. Ooh, just barely misses the right click, but should be able to finish this off. Yeah, that's going to be one Exia going down. We're not going to see the 1v1 there, at least not fully. And yeah, they're pushing really far forward to stop this entry point on this right side, left side for the full team kill. We've seen a lot of people coming up this ramp to try to enter here, just because this platform in particular, like I said, especially with the Pale Rider, has been huge. That's what BOZOS used to get in the first time themselves, and they're saying, no, you're not doing that to us. We know how that works. We're going to flank you with the Exia.
This is much more of a proactive defense than a reactive defense. Like you said, instead of allowing them to get up here for free, you saw the pressure coming out from Duke. You've got the Pale Rider now playing on the hill himself, but he does have to back away. Tism already getting the first knock. That's going to be Enders going down. One more. They do get the res, but the trade is there with Duke falling in the middle of nowhere. They trade the Exias. The Pale Rider trying his best to survive. He has his heals in another second, but it's not going to be enough. Now we do have the Methus still alive with the turret up, finding some picks along with that Ashamar. So this could be a defensive retake in just a moment.
Yeah, that again though we saw the Pale Rider get into a good position on the side of Gundam Unicorn. I believe that's Subject is a Pale Rider player, and it just does so much to go so far. If you can get the high ground positioning within that building, I'm not sure they're gonna make it back. Yeah, it looks like they're actually just gonna not even attempt it. There might have been a chance that they could have pushed back in and just barely at the end prevented it, but they decided that they don't want to get staggered there. They don't want to let them get a really strong push on B. But now there's gonna be a full 6 minutes for Gundam Unicorn to make this full push up.
I mean, fairly similar times in taking point A. I believe it was just the first push. Tism goes down, and that is not a recoverable Pale Rider. This is on that slash, as that Exia will be able to back away. You can see now defense losing one or more. That Ashmar gone, and he might be in a recoverable position. You get him up in time just off that health pack. But that does mean they end up losing out positioning here on that high ground. Exia Duke in the back line does not have his Trans Am quite yet. You can see why it's so hard to play flankers in a competitive setting.
Yeah, just immediately got melted, and I mean, great time to get out of there. You know, great reactions to be like, whoa, okay, forget this. I'm not even going to attempt this. But you can already see just how well Gundam Unicorn is playing together as a team. They're going to be pushing on point already, although they still have not been able to lock down Duke. The Trans Am's up, but now he's down. This might be needed to just barely prevent the win at this point.
They've got 4 G maneuvers available for this retake right now. The energy cable along with the funnels could be the massive retake for them, but 3 ticks are going to come in for Gundam Unicorn now. Stunned is that Pale Rider sent down to the low ground, but this might actually work out for him. The Zanabi's battling, but it's going to be the Exia coming in to pick up 2. Pale Rider pushing forward off of that, but he will end up going down. D, though, trades away his life as the fight still takes place on the point. Duke still in Trans Am right now. It will end, and that is the defensive hold coming up for Team BOZOS.
Wow, just barely. I actually really thought the Gundam Unicorn had that. That was a really, really nice hold, but they had to use so many resources on both sides. Actually, the fact that BOZOS still is holding on to that Hades from the Pale Rider, that is huge. That's going to be at least to be able to probably hold off one decently significant push if they have to, but I mean, that was most of the way there.
Ashmar is getting a lot of damage, though, so he will have his punch available. 2 G maneuvers now, pushing into this choke. Could be the big difference maker, but the Pale Rider needs to stay alive. Good pick off onto Profi. Exia gets to the back line, finds 1, but James will fall. The Pale Rider somehow still survives with 41 HP, heals himself up, and now they'll be able to finish this one off. That's going to be a nice delay on that. Remember, I believe Team BOZOS had about 1:37, 1:40 on their timer. So they're just trying to bleed this one out for as long as they can.
Yeah, this is going to be really hard to prevent at least 1 tick, right? They have to try to hold here as long as they can, which is actually working quite well. They're getting a lot of picks, especially picking off that Pale Rider. That's going to really, really delay them. It's not going to really have that much extra speed to run back. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, just getting the triple dinks there, and that's going to allow them to push up. That's a huge delay. Every single pick like this, especially if you're able to finish off the down, means you're delaying the team another 20 seconds on that push. So we'll be down to 20 seconds, or excuse me, 3 minutes for that next push. It does still mean, though, that on the Gundam Unicorn side, they'll have maybe 3 abilities to go on in, but that's going to be the Screaming Nimbus picking up 2 on that advance. Now the Pale Rider trying his best to survive. He's not going to get that health pack down in time. Ashmar does trade for 1, but is it going to be enough? Both support trying their best, but it looks like Gundam Unicorn will finish off this round with plenty of time in the tank.
Yeah, we've seen the Screaming Nimbus, that Dom G maneuver just works so well as an initiation tool. There's really nothing you can do to it as it's running in, and it stops. You know, it really can go and like target your back line, get them with like a little bit of a knockback and a stun, and then lock them down. So we saw that exactly right there, right? Duke on the exit was standing really far back. I wouldn't definitely not say out of position. Got hit by that, then got finished off very quickly. They took that advantage. They pushed in. The Screaming Nimbus just lasts so long. They use it all the way to the point, and we're actually, you know, BOZOS doing so well. Of course, BOZOS winning that previous EGL tournament that happened very recently, very dominantly, and we have Gundam Unicorn actually finishing that with a better time than them. That is very impressive for what I believe this is their first tournament as a team. I'm not 100% sure. If anybody knows otherwise, please let me know, but they are just very impressive to me.
Yeah, one thing I will say, though, like, there was a difference on that point A offense, right? I believe BOZOS were able to take it on their first push. For Gundam Unicorn, it took them 2 pushes to get on in. So that could make up for the discrepancy here. We'll see, though, if that kind of defense comes out from BOZOS once they swap over. But it's BOZOS now for their second chance to take point A. Well, again, they did an amazing job taking that wrap. getting onto the high ground, and really getting Tism established there with that flank coming out from Duke.
Yeah, that play was so good. That's another one of those like if you want to see how to exactly to attack a point, you just look exactly at that VOD, because that was the epitome of how you want to use Xe to flank in that situation, and the epitome of how to take advantage of it as a DPS, like a Pale Rider or whatever else you want to use within your own matches. And let's see if we're actually going to see any defense on the bridge this time. No, it doesn't look like it. We're seeing just a few shots thrown out. You don't have to reload as Xe. You might as well throw it out. Who knows if you might hit something? But it seems like the entire team for Gundam Unicorn is going to be in the building.
Ooh, nice little jump up there from Pale Rider, so he doesn't actually give away that he made the cross. As you can see instantly, the response coming out from the defense. They're trying to get to the back line, and it's the same thing they did last time. But with the actually three flankers going down, I believe Exia might still be alive, and so that's going to be a first attack hold coming out from Gundam Unicorn. Now, Team BOZOS trying their best to regroup and get out and not lose any more people, because they are running out of time. 56 seconds now remaining on the clock.
Yeah, I was surprised that there were so many people just held back on the side of Gundam Unicorn, but they were totally correct. They knew, okay, there's going to be a bunch of people coming from behind, and they made the read correctly. They defended it well, but here we go. This is going to start to work here. One person down, to Dom down for Gundam Unicorn. Dom down on both sides now, so it's a pretty even fight here on this point.
And that's great. Exia going in, knocking off one. That's the high ground now completely established for Tism. Don't exactly know how much damage is getting off, but here it is. The Trans Am now going in for Duke. He's extremely low HP though, and he will fall, but he's done enough to open up the point. I believe one player, maybe two, still remaining there on the defense for Gundam Unicorn, and the Hades will be expelled now just to secure it. They don't want to risk anything, and now they secure 2 ticks. The run back is so long here. I don't think there's going to be an opportunity to retake, but that just means now we only have 2 G maneuvers available for this next push coming up for Team BOZOS.
That was really scary. That was down to the final 10 seconds. If that push had not made it happen, and it actually just barely did, right? Only about 3 people still up, I think, at the end of that. If it hadn't made it happen, it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, only 1 minute and 20 seconds left. They only have a couple pushes left. They do have the Mephis ult, they have the Ashmar punch ult, but they really don't have very much else as far as G maneuvers go. And we are going to see the punch come out.
That's huge. 2 picks off as Dai accidentally takes himself out, but a third ends up going down on the Gundam Unicorn side. Duke does fall as the rest of the defenders do fall back onto point B, but that is the high ground established for Tism. He'll be able to get a knock onto that Ashmar. Baronox, the next one to go down on that RX-78 Sue. We do have G maneuvers being utilized now. The Screaming Nimbus here to keep themselves on that point, keep himself topped off as the Mephis is just pocketing that Pale Rider for the time being. Nice little angle there to keep them off the point. 2 ticks now secured for Team BOZOS. They're looking for more. Finally, the point gets contested, but the Screaming Nimbus on the retake now is getting value. Enders does get finished off. There's a rest. Bring D back on up. Will they be able to get their Pale Rider back on in? Well, maybe it doesn't even matter because Duke is here. The 3rd tick is secured. Trans Am is going to get shut down in just a moment, but they're not able to finish off this Exia quite yet. James gets some value, but the defenders are still coming back in.
Oh, yeah, they are just making their way back in slowly over time, but it might be enough. I mean, so many of them are going down. It looks like they may be retaking this. There's still going to be a little bit of a fight out here, but the Pale Rider is going to have such a hard time dealing with the Sazabi, although we're going to get everybody pretty much back on point over here, and a lot of damage is coming out. The Pale Rider going down. There are just so many people sitting there on point, and it's not going to be enough. They just said, you know what? We are just going to body block this entire point with everybody that we got coming back, and I really thought BOZOS was going to make that push fully work, but everybody came back just in time. I think a big deal was that the suits that were down were not very good suits at dealing with Sazabi. You can see the Sazabi like kind of physically pushing everybody out, but a great retake from Gundam Unicorn, which I actually just learned they have played tournaments together before in Battlefield. Like I said, they're a team that comes from Battlefield, but they've never played tournaments together before in Gundam. So you can see how they have, you know, some comms. They've got great coordination off the bat. It feels like an experienced team, right? Which it is. This clearly transferred over to this game.
I mean, the response that we saw in both attacks on point A, right? They instantly turned to try and deal with the flankers. It wasn't as successful on the first attack, but the second attack, they definitely did squash that. Getting rid of the Ashmar, getting rid of the Mephis immediately. I don't know exactly where Duke went during that flank, but the response was there for them. Now, with 2 minutes and I think 40, that's what Gundam Unicorns have to work with. And so they have to basically be immaculate and clean on their first push here, or there might be a chance for Team BOZOS to actually get a point A hold.
Yeah, they were really strong in the way that they were holding it before. Just in case anybody doesn't remember, it feels only like a couple minutes ago, they were very aggressive on their defense, right? They actually had Duke on the Exia flanking around and stopping people from coming up this right side ramp. They actually held a little bit further forward on the bridge, not to say held, but you know, they were actually harassing, I should say, as people were crossing the bridge. And it looks like they might be doing something somewhat similar this time. I'm sure they're not committing to it. We do see the turret back out there again to build up that free G Evo or meter, I guess you could call it. And let's see if there's any changes in comp. It doesn't look like it. Probably all the same.
Yeah, Duke just getting that free damage off, like you said. The turret got a little bit more for that Methus as well. The Pale Rider playing on the right side high ground can be a little bit difficult, but you can see he does have his own heals to really utilize, and he does have the Sazabi to back him up. But here comes the push on out. We saw him go down early last time, but he will back away from that push. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That's what they're working with, and they lose out on focus. Will they be able to finish him off? They do secure that. You can see that proactive defense now coming out from Team BOZOS, cleaning up more.
Oh, there are so many people pushing up this ramp, but it's just not working. They're getting choke pointed here. And look at this, almost every single one of them I think is going down. That is without a doubt going to be at least the first push not working. We did see the second push work last time. They've got a little bit more time than BOZOS had on their own offense, but now it's time to see what the push is going to be like with, of course, that extra 50% G meter from the overtime rounds. It means that we're going to see a lot of G meter, which probably popped really soon.
Almost all of them coming up. You can see 97% for that Hades. We have the energy cable. Trans Am just came online, and there it is, the Hades as well. They don't have the funnel or the Screaming Nimbus, but they're going to want to hold that one on until something goes south for them. You might just be able to rely upon the Trans Am here. You can see it's a very similar hold. Now Exia just trying to play Gatekeeper, and the Trans Am has been popped along with the Hades and the energy cable. The first one's getting picked off. That's going to be the Sazabi going down to the turret, but it's both Sazabis on either side as he tries to get back for that health back. He's going to be out of the fight for just a little bit. The Hades from Tism is going to be enough to hold it down. On the other side, though, I don't know how many G maneuvers they expel. There is the RX-78-2 ultimate going down, but it looks like it's going to be another hold coming out from Team BOZOS, running down the clock with only 53 seconds left for Gundam Unicorn.
Oh, and we see the G maneuvers still up for the Sazabi, for the Dom, and that Screaming Nimbus is just going to be so good at literally pushing people off of the point, stopping them from just standing on there and extending the overtime. So this final push is going to be really difficult for Gundam Unicorn. I'm not sure which G maneuvers they still have up. Maybe if they can have their own Screaming Nimbus. I don't believe I saw it in the previous push, but this is going to be tough. They have to make it happen right here, or this will be a first game win for BOZOS, and here's the push.
Screaming Nimbus and Funnel has been used, but they found value, picking off 2 already. Sazabi has gone down. They have not been able to res him, but Profi falls on the other side. You can see why the high ground is so good for this Pale Rider. 10 seconds remaining, and that might just be it. Team BOZOS on the verge of taking map number 1, unless hero plays come out, but it looks like they are ready for this final 200 push. It's going to be Team BOZOS taking the first win in this best of 3.
Wow, holding it on point A. I'm really surprised. I mean, just especially with the offense that we saw before, I kind of expected that it was going to be a fight to see who was going to get the most ticks on point B, but that defense is just so solid. You see Sism as the MVP, very much rightfully so, just holding the perfect position in that point A building. We saw a lot of the repositioning actually within that last game, which I thought was really good. You know, we saw, usually we see the Pale Riders up on that kind of right side ramp area, which did work out really well, but as soon as he couldn't be there, he was backing up a little bit further into the building, making sure that nobody was going to be flanking them, making sure that nobody was just going to pop out and just get, like, for example, we saw like the RX-78 on the other side, so if one Mace had managed to connect, that could have been GG, that could have been, you know, a pick, a long run back, but the safe play, I think, was really great, and I still think that the play was great on both sides for this.
Again, it felt like it was a tale of 2 different play styles, right? You had a reactive defense coming out from Gundam Unicorns where they were responding to Duke's flank, while on the other side for Team BOZOS, on their defense, it was a proactive one. They were making sure they maintained presence for that Pale Rider on the right-hand side, like you said. When we were seeing the defense coming out from Gundam Unicorn, everyone was basically playing off that mini health pack on the high ground on the left. And so small little positional changes like that make a massive difference. And for Team BOZOS, that's what got them the win. Now we're just waiting on map number 2, which I believe it is going to be Thermal Plant. And so that's going to be a fun one here. That's going to be the Exia Playground.
Yeah, I think we've seen thermal plants only 1 or 2 times before yesterday, but this is going to be a hugely different map than we saw before. Of course, we are seeing, I think, a lot of the teams that want to go for the domination maps going for thermal plant. Thermal plant it's pretty like even as far as things go. There's not going to be a whole lot of like weird runs like we see on like missile, or a lot of like weird flanks that you're not expecting as much on Mount R&D. So I really like thermal plant. I like watching it, but yeah, having one of the best Exia players, maybe the best Exia player in the region, on one of these teams is going to be such a scary thing for this map. The Exia can be anywhere all the time on this map, like all of the heights, especially when you get to that like point C that has the multiple levels, or even on point B, right, being able to jump back and forth between the different levels. Just having that mobile or the vertical mobility is so important, and Exia has that, of course, in maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult once we get to point B, because that neutral game, when you're trying to play for the high ground inside the middle, that's where we saw a lot of hell breaking loose. Ashimars are going to be so important in being able to control those major fighting arenas, essentially, right? This is one of those maps where I believe we are still going to see Ashimars. We saw a lot of that on Flag Fort. This is another one where the Ashmar provides so much value, not just with his spam, but also with that Molotov of its own. We got to see that, I believe, as well on Mountain R&D, but here, for thermal plants, I think with how many chokes there are getting into the points, it's going to prove even more valuable.
Yeah, and like I was mentioning, the verticality of this level in particular is so big. Like being able to go back and forth between, especially on C, like if you don't have any vertical mobility on C, you can get really, really bullied, just because it's, I think, the only domination zone in the entire game. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure it's the only domination zone in the entire game that is actually on 2 levels at once, and you can't just actually sit, you know, in the bottom spot only. So that's pretty interesting as far as things go. But I mean, hey, we've been seeing a ton of Ashimars regardless of the map, so I don't think any of these teams are going to have to go too far out of their way to readjust their comps for this, you know, this pick on thermal plant. We might see some different things, right? I mentioned before, I think personally the Barbados is quite strong on this map, but you really need like a Barbados specialist, which Nanazaki does have, but we're not going to see them till later.
And honestly, I feel like Barbados really is more activated when you go for that triple brawler, right? But yeah, we do have Zaku Melee banned out for this tournament. He is in the competitive quarantine for now. We'll revisit that later on to see exactly where he is, but I think we are starting to lean towards he has become balanced a little bit more. He is a bit better. But here on Thermal Plant, he could be incredibly strong. Like you said, point C, it's one of those the only point in domination where you have multi-level, but either way, whether it's the top level or the bottom, it will be the melee Zaku pit of pain if you get in there. So you got to be careful. Right now, though, we're just waiting for our teams to get in, and we will get right into our second match. It is going to be Team BOZOS sitting on match point here. If they win this one, they get sent straight into the best of 5 for our grand finals.
Yeah, and so far we are seeing, oh, you know what? I didn't even mention this, but we see this all the time, of course, on this map, the Gundam Unicorn switch. Not a hugely weird switch that we wouldn't expect, but especially, I mean, hey, we have a team named Gundam Unicorn, and this is actually one of the first... this is one of the first times when we saw Gundam Unicorn, they were playing on this exact level in Thermal Plant. They did very, very well, but you know, we're not going to see the Methis. You are very grouped up on this map.
It's going to be a point C first unlocking here. Now, the neutral, there are long sight lanes to work with, but again, you're just playing right into the chokes. We'll see the Suzabi, how long they can hold on to their shield. Zook is actually getting in already, and he picks off one. That's the Suzabi going down. That is a huge pick off for Team BOZOS.
Oh yeah, just the Suzabi able to hold. If you can hold the doorways in this particular point with Suzabi, really most of these points here, that is gigantic, but they're gonna fight back regardless. Focus, it looks like, getting a really good flank on that Ashimar, of course, using that flame, and we are gonna see just so many people going down on both sides here. As expected, this is a brawl.
Now, D does get Tism back into the game, as Duke is looking for a little bit more, but Tism will fall. Does not have his dash quite yet. He does have a mini health pack to work with, and as the point unlocks, it's going to be Gundam Unicorn, despite losing out on their tank first, actually capturing it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it was maybe just early enough that it was able to come back. I believe it's going to be Profi. And that was, I mean, again, just such a brawl. We've got pretty much the comps that we expected here. You know, no real big changes. We have been pretty consistently seeing an RX-78 on the side of Unicorn, and that is actually really good on this map. There are a lot of angles where you can hit the mace, especially on Sazabis, that are just standing in doorways, and there's not a great way for them to avoid it.
Now it's just a setup. It doesn't look like they're going to want to fight for this last few seconds on point B. It's all about maintaining this high ground. Got to see it on Mountain R&D, and getting positioning early on is so important. They're looking for a little bit more. They might get the Ashmar. They're not going to overchase for this one again. Just maintain this high ground presence. Duke ends up losing out on that Exia battle, but you can see now the turnaround for the rest of Team BOZOS to try and take him out. Dai has fallen, and somehow that Exia gets out alive. I don't know how, and now things are turning around for Team BOZOS, but they do pick up a few more.
Okay, Exia finally went down. Yeah, that's just the Exia magic, right? Just so sneaky, so hard to hit, sneaks out of situations that you feel like are guaranteed for the kill. But now just barely becoming active, and of course the run back to any of these spots on this level are not very long, so pretty much everybody was going to be back in the fight, and we're actually going to see a ton of the players on Gundam Unicorn go down in that re-attempt to engage. It looks like BOZOS just getting that high ground first, holding it, running over to this point before it was active by quite a bit. It was a very smart choice.
You got 3 G maneuvers available right now. They are popping, actually, the Gundam Unicorn ulti. Never mind. Yeah, just got finished off. Doesn't get any value off of it. But again, with these chokes, the way to get in onto the point, you can easily spam that one down. The Ashmar punch not getting as much value as Tism does go down, but it's going to be a nice clean wipe, it looks like, coming out from the BOZOS side to hold on to point B. So they should get full value off of this one, not overcommitting into that fight as well. They've got a punch of their own to deal with, and the Hades, along with that Screaming Nimbus.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I mean, you can see how close these teams are, right? Both teams pretty much completely holding one zone, pretty much as close as you can get. You know, neither of the other teams getting anything here, but here we go. We're going to see the Trans Am come out, hitting so many people in that doorway. Of course, just immediately, even just being available for just a few seconds, went down to less than half HP, but it's not going to matter. Just doing so much damage, and that's what we expect to see from Duke.
The Hades come back now for Gundam Unicorn to fight on to point A. Up a little bit more. Tism has gone down. Evo picks up one onto that Dom, but the point is about to unlock. The respawns are coming back on in for Team BOZOS. It's Gundam Unicorn getting onto the point first. 55 seconds here on this point as they're trying to find their entryway. They're going to start it off. The Screaming Nimbus from behind, actually. And they are charging forward with that additional movement speed. But here comes the Gundam Ultimate. You can see the focus down. No value off of that one here as they're pushing the right-hand side, controlling the health pack, and they take over point A.
Oh, yeah, that was a great repush. That Gundam ult, it can be so strong, but if you throw it into a spot where people can actually hit it, especially against good coordinated teams, they are immediately going to be melting that. And it's kind of hard to control sometimes. It does tend to bounce. I like this hold that we're seeing at the very front door. It's actually something you commonly see, not just in competitive, but also in ranked. It's kind of hard to push that door if people are standing there. And we're just going to see everybody move over pretty quickly. Wow, I said, no, forget it.
Duke got out of there with the quickness. You can see both teams really trying to get onto that high ground established early on. It's the push, and Duke is just getting free damage. Might get a knock in just a moment. There's one more. No, he's able to fall back, though, pick up the health pack, and now still fighting back against this zombie. The Dom goes in at 1 HP, but Duke does not get that knock, unfortunately. He does pull them away from the point, though, maybe getting the high ground now for Tism, who does have to back away to pick up a health pack. He's going to have the Hades for this next push.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Duke decided to stay in there. That was a really long fight for Anexia. But oh, look at this. We see Gundam Unicorn just holding the entire top ground. Okay, here we go. Hades being activated, but not a lot of people in the line of sight for Tism right here. And Tism immediately going down. The Hades not getting any mileage at all. That is huge. It looks like a ton of the players on BOZOS go down. I think Duke is still up, getting a few picks of his own, but as a solo Exia, probably not going to be able to retake the point by any means.
Yeah, so 60% and ticking. They'll be able to secure 95 if they get it the entire way. I don't know exactly where the next point is going to go. It looks like it's going to be overtime here on point B. So this is make it or break it time. Trans Am coming in early for Duke. He's into the back line, finds one. Baronox with the help of his squad. Another falling. That's going to be Enders going down. And Profi will fall as well. Nice push coming out from BOZOS, allows them to cap the point, and now in that Exia versus Exia battle, that's going to be the Trans Am being the upper hand for Duke to win that one out.
Yeah, there we go. Just having that one single G maneuver left for that push was all that it took to retake that point. Although we're seeing a attempt to retake it once again. Although Gundam Unicorn maybe pushing on to point a little bit too quickly without being able to clear out enough, and BOZOS will take round number 1. I mean, they had to get on point, but they just all stood there, and that's one of the biggest things about that point, right? If you have to get onto it to force that overtime, everybody's just going to shoot you in the head. And not only that, they're going to shoot you in the head from almost like a 360-degree angle. They can be anywhere. It's not like you just have one particular angle that you have to look up at and say, okay, somebody could be shooting us from over there. It's like there's no way we're stopping this. You know, we are just getting killed. It is a very vulnerable actual point.
And so that puts BOZOS now not just on map point, but this is match point in this best of 3 sets. They get this win here. They will be moving on to the grand finals. Gundam Unicorn will be knocked down to the lower bracket to face off against Inarizaki, who are looking for their rematch up against Team BOZOS. We'll see, though, if Gundam Unicorn can keep things alive. This was still a very competitive round number 2. Going into round number 1. Going into round number 2, though, we're starting on the opposite side of the map. We started on point C as the first to unlock. This time around, it's going to be point A.
Yeah, and as expected, we're not going to be seeing any real switches. The Unicorn did work out very, very well. It was really close. You know, we saw an entire zone won by Gundam Unicorn. They just weren't quite able to pick up the win in the overtime. So it's just all about the clutch, right? It's all about the clutch and who has the most resources at the end. But here we go, fighting immediately for A. There's going to be a brawl.
Nice Ashamar Molly into the back line. They only lose out on their Sazabi on the BOZOS side, but they trade expertly. D has gone down, but now you can see the push coming out from Tism. Wants to finish off that. Dom will not be able to secure that as they are a little bit more busy getting their teammates up, but there it is. That first point, it is now going to go to Team BOZOS.
Yeah, just so expertly fought. And so much is the positioning of Tism, right? That's one thing that you can be as great as you want at aiming, but if you're out of position, especially as a Pale Rider with no extra mobility, you are going down and almost out of position right there, right? That was a really far forward spot to hold, but just knew the perfect time to get out. Still, though, 2 people down on BOZOS already.
Unfortunately, BOZOS have been plagued by disconnects over and over again. So this is a 6v5 retake.